All right, let's dive into something pretty unique. We're going to be taking a look at Mary Walker's Beyond the Veil series. You sent over some really cool stuff like background on the author, some interesting looking book covers, and that series description, the one that talks about all the star children and spiritual awakenings and all that cosmic stuff.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that pull, you know, towards the unknown, like curious about what might be out there beyond our everyday world?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're going to explore today.
It's really interesting how her background, Mary Walker's background, seems to inform her writing. It's like she's not just making up stories, but she's actually using her own experience with community development and healing.
It's like she's taking that real world understanding of how people connect and grow, and she's putting it into this mystical fictional world.
Right.
And then, she mentions that dreams and talking to spirits have influenced her work, which just adds a whole other layer to everything.
Yeah, it suggests a deep connection to the unseen world, which probably influences how she writes about Alexis, who's that star child at the center of the series.
Okay, so speaking of Alexis, the description says she gets messages from a, quote, diverse spirit team, end quote.
Uh-huh.
So many questions. But before we get ahead of ourselves, can we talk about this whole star child thing? What does that even mean when we're talking about spiritual fiction?
Well, it's this idea about where we come from and what we're here for, right? In spiritual fiction, they're often portrayed as people who are extra sensitive to spiritual stuff.
Uh-huh.
And they have a deep connection to the cosmos. Sometimes they even have, special abilities. They're supposed to help humanity evolve, and their stories usually focus on them figuring themselves out and fulfilling a greater purpose.
Oh, okay, so it's not just about Alexis's personal journey then. It's about how she impacts the world around her, too.
Exactly. And having a diverse spirit team adds even more to that. It shows that spiritual support doesn't just come from one place, but from tons of different energies, each offering a different type of guidance.
Oh, that's a cool idea. Makes me wonder if Mary Walker is hinting at how complicated our own spiritual journeys are. Maybe we're not supposed to rely on just one belief system or one teacher, but instead to learn from all the different wisdom that's out there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a smart observation. It definitely goes along with the idea that spiritual growth isn't a straight line, but a multifaceted exploration.
Okay, so we've got a star child on a mission, guided by this team of, well, who exactly? I mean, what kind of spiritual beings are we even talking about here?
Well, that's part of the mystery. The description keeps it open-ended, which I think is cool because it lets you, as the reader, bring your own beliefs to the story, So are they ancestral spirits, guides from other dimensions, beings connected to planets or star systems? It could be anything, and that's part of what makes it exciting.
That is really cool. It's like she's letting you create your own mythology inside the story.
Yeah.
You get to decide who's on Alexis's team and what they're all about.
Right. It's an invitation to go deeper into the story, to use your own intuition about the spiritual world.
Okay, so speaking of going deeper, let's talk about the themes in Beyond the Veil. The description mentions personal transformation, connection to the divine, and figuring out the mysteries of the universe. Pretty big concepts, right?
Oh, yeah.
Big stuff.
Definitely. And these ideas resonate with people who are on their own journeys of self-discovery. The series seems to be asking, what's beyond what we normally see? What if reality is way bigger than we can even imagine?
It's like she's taking these questions we all ask ourselves at some point and turning them into this awesome story. But then there's this one detail that really caught my eye. Earth is called, quote, E1.3, end quote. What could that even mean?
It is a curious detail. It suggests there's more to Earth than we think, In mystical fiction, it could be like a specific dimension or frequency in the universe as a whole.
So are you saying our perception of Earth is just one tiny piece of a much bigger reality? That there are other dimensions, other Earths, right alongside our own?
It's definitely possible. And it makes you wonder, what's so special about E1.3? Does it have a different energy, the unique purpose in the grand scheme of things?
Okay, now my head is spinning. We've got star children, spirit teams, a multidimensional Earth, and then there's this idea of the veil itself. Book covers show it a lot. What do you think the symbolism is there?
The veil is a powerful symbol across so many cultures and spiritual traditions. It often represents that barrier between our world and the unseen realms, the separation between what we know and what's unknown.
Right.
But think about how Mary Walker might be using it. Is it just a wall or something more dynamic, something Alexis can learn to, manipulate?
That's a great point. It's not just about what's behind the veil. It's about how Alexis interacts with it. If she can change it, it means she has a lot of power and control in her spiritual journey.
Exactly. It becomes this active element, not just a passive obstacle.
Right, so it's like she's not just sitting back and taking in messages from the other side. She's actively bridging the gap between those worlds. It makes me wonder, what does that unveiling process even involve? Is it gradual, sudden, or something else entirely?
That's something we'll probably discover as we go further into the series, but I don't think the veil just disappears. Alexis has to interact with it, work through it, and eventually I think she changes it through her journey.
It's like watching a dancer slowly getting the hang of a really difficult move. Each time she interacts with the veil, it's another step towards understanding and control.
I love that. It really captures that dynamic and constantly changing nature of Alexis's journey. She's not just passively receiving wisdom, she's actively shaping her own reality.
And that really comes through in the descriptions of her experiences. You see phrases like vivid dreams, enigmatic visions, and profound moments of introspection. It's not just a dry summary, it's like an invitation to experience the world through Alexis's senses.
It's like Mary Walker is creating a window into another dimension, not just with the story, but with the very words she uses. This immersive style really pulls you into Alexis's world and lets you connect with it on an intuitive, emotional level.
Yeah, it's like she's saying, come along with Alexis, feel what she feels, see what she sees, and discover the hidden truths beyond the veil.
Exactly.
It's not just reading, it's like stepping into an experience.
Absolutely. And as we'll see in Beyond the Veil, that experience can be deeply personal, but also universally relevant. It's about connecting with your true self, tapping into that inner wisdom, and recognizing that we're all connected to everything around us.
Okay, so you've piqued my curiosity for sure. Before we start digging into the individual books, let's take a closer look at Mary Walker's background. We know about her work in community development and healing, but I'm curious about your take on how that might show up in her writing.
Oh, it's fascinating to think about.
It really is.
Her background suggests a deep understanding of, human connection, personal growth, and the way communities can transform people.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if those themes pop up in Beyond the Veil.
Yeah, like she's bringing all that real-world wisdom into this fantastical story.
Yeah.
Showing us that spiritual awakening isn't just about individual enlightenment, but how we're all connected and affect each other.
Totally. It adds a layer of depth and authenticity, right? Suggests that she's not just making things up, but writing from her own life and a real desire to help others connect with their inner wisdom.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like she's saying, here's a story, but it's also a chance to think about your own life, your own journey, and your potential to grow and change.
And that invitation, that's what makes Beyond the Veil so interesting. It's not just for fun. It's a call to wake up, to explore, and to become who you're really meant to be.
Now, I'm really excited to get into the specific books and see how Alexis's journey unfolds. But before we do, let's dig a little deeper into that whole Starchild concept. What are some of the common characteristics and purposes of starseeds, in spiritual traditions? How might those traits show up in Alexis's life?
That's a great question, and there are a lot of different ways to look at it. But generally, starseeds are often described as feeling like they don't belong, like they're from somewhere else.
They're missing a cosmic home, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And this usually leads to a thirst for knowledge, wanting to understand life's deeper mysteries, and yearning for something bigger than themselves.
So they're the seekers, the questioners, the ones who are always pushing the boundaries of what's known and accepted.
Exactly. And often, this drive to seek and question comes from a deep sense of purpose. Starseeds are often believed to be here on Earth with a mission to help humanity evolve.
Okay, now it gets really interesting. So what might their missions involve? How do they actually help humanity evolve?
Well, that's where it gets really diverse and specific. It's not like fitting into a mold. Some might be healers, bringing new forms of energy work or medicine to the world. Others might be artists, inspiring through their creativity and vision. Still others might be teachers or activists, spreading awareness and prompting change.
So it's not about a specific job title then, or a grand plan. It's more about them bringing their own unique gifts and perspectives to the world and using them to make a positive impact.
Yeah, exactly. And the way those gifts are expressed can be so different. It's about aligning with your soul's purpose and letting it guide your actions,
Right.
whether they're big actions or small ones.
It's a reminder that we all have the potential to make a difference,
Yeah.
to contribute to a better world simply by being true to ourselves and expressing our unique gifts. And I think that's empowering, whether we believe in starseeds or not. It's like a call to action for everyone.
Absolutely. It's about realizing that we're not just passive bystanders in the big scheme of things.
Right.
We have the power to shape reality, to contribute to the greater good, and create a world that reflects our highest ideals.
I love that. And it sounds like Beyond the Veil might be a guide for that journey, a way to explore these themes through Alexis's experiences. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's take a closer look at the world Mary Walker has created. We know it's set on Earth, but with its interesting E1.3 designation. What else can you tell us about this reality? Is it technologically advanced? Is magic a part of everyday life? Are there beings other than humans?
That's where it gets interesting because Mary Walker is playing with our expectations. We have the familiar setting of Earth, but with this added layer of multidimensionality, suggesting there's more to this world than we might initially think.
So it's like she's taken everyday reality and given it a sense of wonder and mystery.
Exactly. And the series description is intentionally vague on the specifics, which lets you, as the reader, use your imagination and fill in the gaps.
It's like she's giving you a blank canvas and saying, here's the framework, now create your own vision of what this world could be like.
And that's part of the fun, right? As we go deeper into the series, we'll start to find clues about E1.3. We might see hints of advanced tech, subtle signs of magic, even glimpses of other beings living alongside humans.
Ooh, it's like a cosmic treasure hunt.
Yeah.
Searching for those little details that reveal what this world is really like. And I have a feeling that each discovery will be just as captivating as the last.
Absolutely. And as we uncover those details, we'll also be putting together the bigger puzzle of Alexis's journey, understanding how the world she lives in shapes her experiences and her path.
So it's like she's not just a character in a story, she's part of a big, intricate web of interconnected elements that contribute to her destiny.
That's a beautiful way to look at it. We're all part of a bigger tapestry, interconnected in ways we might not even realize. And Alexis's journey, in a way, mirrors our own journey of finding our place in that big picture.
Okay, now I'm really hooked. But before we jump into each book, I want to talk about something that makes any good story. The characters.
Yes.
We know Alexis is our guide, but who else is important in her journey? Allies, mentors, adversaries.
That's crucial, and it sounds like Mary Walker has created a whole bunch of characters for this multi-dimensional world. We already know Alexis has that spirit team guiding her, but she's also going to run into people in the physical world who will affect her life.
So she's basically juggling two worlds, the physical and spiritual,
Yeah.
and each has its own set of relationships and challenges.
Exactly. And those relationships can be complicated, especially when you consider Alexis's special abilities as a star child, you know. How do her family members react to her gifts? Do they get it and support her, or are they scared of what they don't understand?
That's such a human element to explore, even in this mystical story. It's about acceptance, being open-minded, and the challenges of being different, even within our closest relationships.
Absolutely. And beyond her family, we might see friends become allies, drawn to her and inspired by her.
Yeah, like she's a beacon attracting those who are also seeking truth and connection. But then there's also the possibility of antagonists, those who represent the forces trying to stop her from fulfilling her destiny.
Oh, that's where it gets exciting. Antagonists often embody our own inner struggles and fears. They show that resistance we feel when we're trying to grow into our power, embrace who we truly are.
Right. So it's not just about outward battles. It's about the internal struggles Alexis has to overcome to really accept being a star child and fulfill her mission.
Absolutely. And those inner battles can be just as tough, if not tougher, than anything she faces on the outside.
Yeah, it's like those classic hero stories where the hardest fight is often the one within.
That's a good way to put it.
And as we get deeper into Beyond the Veil, I can't wait to see how those battles play out for Alexis. Who will be her allies? Who will challenge her? And how will she manage those relationships while discovering her true power and purpose?
I'm eager to find out, too. But before we wrap up this part of our dive, let's circle back to those interesting book descriptions. There's a recurring theme of Alexis finding out things that change her understanding of reality. What are some of those big revelations she might encounter? What kind of truths could shake up her entire worldview? Well, that's the mystery we get to unravel, right?
Yeah.
But based on what we know so far, I'd say these revelations are probably related to the very nature of reality, the fact that everything's connected, and her unique role as a star child.
So we're not just talking about personal insights, we're talking about big cosmic truths, hidden knowledge that can change how she sees everything.
Exactly. And those revelations often come through dreams, visions, and channeled messages, which adds a lot of intrigue and mystery to the whole thing.
It's like she's being initiated into a secret society of cosmic knowledge, slowly uncovering the hidden truths that are beyond what we normally perceive.
I love that analogy.
Me too.
It really captures the sense of wonder and mystery that the series has. It's about peeling back the layers of reality, discovering those hidden connections, and realizing that we're part of something way bigger than we can imagine.
And that realization, I think, is at the heart of any spiritual awakening. It's about expanding your awareness, going beyond your limits, and becoming who you're truly meant to be. Now, I'm really on the edge of my seat, ready to dive into each book and uncover the layers of Alexis's journey.
Me too. And as we start exploring, I encourage you to keep an open mind, be curious, and be ready for the unexpected. Because within those pages, you might just discover some hidden truths of your own. Welcome back to our deep dive into Beyond the Veil. It's really interesting to consider how Mary Walker's background in community development could influence how she shows those big life-changing revelations, the ones we were talking about.
Yeah, you know what? It makes me think those revelations might connect back to the idea of being interconnected, you know? Like realizing our actions ripple out and affect others. Maybe that's something Alexis has to learn.
I like that thought. It brings a whole new dimension to this idea of spiritual awakening. It's not just about your own enlightenment, but understanding our responsibility to everyone else, to that whole web of life that connects us.
Okay, I'm ready to jump into the first book, Beyond the Veil, Revelation as a Starchild. Even the title sounds intense. What can you tell us about this first part?
Well, the description mentions that Alexis discovers things that challenge her whole view of reality. She's not just learning new facts, her whole worldview is shifting.
So, not exactly a gentle awakening, more like being suddenly shaken awake from a dream, realizing everything you thought was true was an illusion.
That's a good way to put it. And the way those revelations come to her through dreams, trances, and channeling, it's like she's going beyond just understanding things in her head. She's experiencing truth on a deep, visceral level.
It makes me think about all the different ways we learn things in life, you know. Some of us are bookworms, love research, while others get insights through meditation, being in nature, or even through creative stuff. Alexis seems to be using all of those.
Right. It shows there's no right way to have a spiritual awakening. It's about finding what resonates with you, what connects you to that inner truth. And Alexis is exploring everything she can.
That kind of open-minded exploration can be really powerful, especially when you're dealing with ideas that challenge everything you thought you knew. It's like she's saying, I'm going to look everywhere, try anything, and question everything to find the truth.
Absolutely. And that kind of fearless search often leads to amazing discoveries. But it can also be tough and confusing, which is probably shown in Alexis's experiences in this first book.
Oh, definitely. Like stepping off a cliff and hoping you grow wings on the way down.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it takes a lot of courage and a willingness to let go of what you think you know to embrace the unknown.
You know, this reminds me about starseeds again. If Alexis has a mission like so many starseeds do, these big truths she's finding probably aren't just for her, right? They could be for all of humanity.
That's a great point. It gives her journey a whole other level of importance. She's not just finding truth for herself, she could be bringing back knowledge to help us all evolve.
Okay, so we've got Alexis on this incredible journey of awakening, being guided by her spirit team and dealing with these huge, mind-blowing revelations. But what about that whole Earth being called E1.3 thing? Earlier, we talked about it maybe meaning there are multiple dimensions of reality. Do we learn more about E1.3 in this book?
From what I see, the idea of E1.3 is more like a subtle background thing in this first book, like a hint of the bigger cosmic picture that Alexis is starting to become aware of. We might see little glimpses of how this multidimensionality affects her daily life.
Uh-huh.
Maybe subtle changes in perception, things that can't really be explained.
It's like she's catching glimpses of a hidden world, a reality that exists alongside her own, but that most people just don't see.
Exactly. And those glimpses probably make her more curious and want to understand the true nature of her reality, like breadcrumbs leading her deep into the mystery of E1.3 and her own place in it all.
Okay, my brain is officially going down the rabbit hole with all these possibilities.
Yeah.
But before we get lost, let's move on to the second book in the series, Beyond the Veil, The Origins of a Starchild. That title really grabs you. What is this one about?
The description says it goes into those first whispers from her spirit team, so we'll probably get to see how her connection to the spiritual world began.
Like we're getting a sneak peek behind the scenes of what makes a Starchild. We'll see those first moments of awareness, those early encounters with the unseen that set her on this amazing path.
It raises a lot of questions. What were the early signs that Alexis was different? How did people react to her special abilities? And what were those first lessons she learned from our spirit team that shaped her journey?
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. We get more depth and complexity with each book. I'm really curious to see how those whispers from the spirit team are shown. Are they subtle, like a feeling? Are they vivid dreams? Or something completely different?
That's what's so cool about this book. We're seeing how her connection to the spirit world began, those first moments that will guide her the whole way.
It makes me think about those times when we get those intuitive nudges in our own lives, those little whispers we often ignore or explain away. Maybe this book will encourage us to pay attention to them, to consider that maybe something bigger is guiding us than we realize.
I like that. It's about being open and receptive, letting ourselves be guided by something bigger than our limited understanding.
And that brings us back to self-discovery, which seems to be a big theme in the series. As we see Alexis's origins, we're also invited to think about our own beginnings, those early experiences that shaped who we are.
It's a reminder that our journeys aren't a straight line. We're always changing, finding out new things about ourselves, and adding those discoveries to how we see ourselves.
And sometimes those discoveries require us to go back to our past, to see those important moments with new eyes.
Yeah, it's like we're always piecing together our own life puzzle, right? Finding those missing pieces that help us see the bigger picture.
Exactly. And as we see more of Alexis's past, we might even uncover some of our own hidden truths. Those forgotten memories, those experiences that hold the key to understanding who we really are.
It's a powerful invitation to start our own journeys of self-discovery, to look deep inside and find those hidden treasures within.
Okay, before we go too deep into our own soul searching, let's come back to Beyond the Veil for a minute. We've talked about Alexis as a star child, but let's talk more about that whole starseed concept. You said they often feel like they don't belong. What are some other traits or purposes connected to starseeds in different spiritual traditions?
Well, this idea of starseeds coming to Earth with a specific mission to help humanity evolve is pretty common. And those missions can show up in so many ways, from healing and teaching to being creative and inspiring change.
Right, so it's not about fitting into some specific role. It's about sharing their own unique gifts and making the world a better place however they can.
Exactly. And some of the things associated with starseeds might surprise you.
Oh,
They're often into metaphysics, fascinated by ancient cultures and connected to nature. They might have really vivid dreams or just know things they haven't learned.
it's like they're tuned into something different, picking up on info and energy that most people just miss.
Yes, exactly. And that's part of what makes them so important. They bring a fresh perspective, a new way of seeing things that can challenge our old assumptions and help us become more aware.
You know what? It makes me think about people in our lives who have that spark, that unique way of thinking that makes us see things differently. Maybe they're star seeds too, in their own way.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. We're all connected, and even the most ordinary seeming person might have some extraordinary wisdom to share.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes all it takes is one person, one star seed, to create a ripple effect that changes the whole world.
So true. And in Beyond the Veil, we see that ripple effect through Alexis's journey. She's not just changing her own life, but the lives of everyone she touches, inspiring them to wake up to their own potential.
And that's what makes her story so powerful. It's not just her personal adventure. It's about one person's ability to make a difference, to inspire change, and to remind us that we're all capable of amazing things.
It's a message that really hits home, especially in a world that often feels divided and disconnected. It reminds us that we're all part of something much bigger, and we can create a more beautiful, compassionate, and interconnected world.
Okay, feeling super inspired now. But before we get too carried away, let's bring it back to Beyond the Veil for a minute. We talked about the symbolism of the veil, but what about how it actually shows up in the story? Are there concrete examples of how Alexis interacts with it?
That's a good question, and I'm curious about that too. Mary Walker seems to use the veil in different ways, both literally and metaphorically. So we might see Alexis running into actual physical barriers that represent the veil, maybe in her dreams or visions.
Like in those fantasy stories where the hero has to pass through a magical barrier to get to a new place or discover a hidden truth. It's like a physical version of stepping into the unknown.
Exactly. And those times when she encounters the veil physically could be dramatic and visually amazing.
Uh-huh.
But I think the real magic is in how Mary Walker shows those metaphorical veils.
Right, those mental blocks, limiting beliefs and fears that keep us from seeing our true potential, right?
Yes. Those inner veils are often sneakier and harder to deal with than anything out in the world.
So when Alexis doubts herself, or when she's struggling to make a difficult choice, those could be her ways of interacting with that metaphorical veil.
I think so. It's like she's wrestling with those inner barriers, trying to find the strength to break through them.
And those struggles, even if they feel personal, are something we can all relate to. We've all been there feeling stuck, limited, or scared to be our best selves.
Definitely. And Alexis's journey shows us that we're not alone in those moments. It reminds us that it's possible to face our fears, challenge those beliefs holding us back, and break free from whatever's keeping us from being our true selves.
So, Beyond the Veil isn't just about a star child with special powers then. It's a reflection of our own human journey of growth, transformation, and self-discovery.
It's a story that encourages us to look within, to face our shadows, embrace our light, and become who we're truly meant to be.
This deep dive into the world of Beyond the Veil has been so fascinating. It feels like we've barely scratched the surface.
I agree. Mary Walker has created such a layered and interesting story. It draws you in, makes you think, and it'll stick with you.
I'm excited to see what happens in the rest of the series, how Alexis's journey continues to unfold. It feels like we're in for a wild ride.
Me too. And for those listening, I encourage you to pick up a copy of Beyond the Veil and go on your own journey. You might be surprised by what you find.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep searching, questioning, and exploring those boundless possibilities within you and the world around you.
It's interesting how Mary Walker combines those classic light and darkness ideas with Alexis being a star child. You don't see that too often.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if a Starchild's mission has something to do with those opposing forces. Like maybe part of what Alexis needs to do is help everyone find balance.
Yeah, it's possible. And it adds another layer to this whole starseed idea. They're not just here to spread good vibes, they're here to help us deal with the full range of human experiences, good and bad, light and dark.
Like they're reminding us that to be truly whole, you have to accept everything, not just the comfortable stuff.
Right. And that can be hard to wrap your head around, especially when we're always told to be perfect and hide our flaws.
So maybe part of Alexis's path is about helping us see the beauty and wisdom in those darker, less perfect parts of life.
It's like she's showing us there's a plan even in the chaos, a reason for the pain, and a light even in the darkest places.
Okay, I'm really seeing how deep and complex this series is.
Okay.
But let's get back to something we talked about before, how the veil actually appears in the story. Are there any specific examples of how Alexis interacts with it?
That's the mystery, isn't it? Mary Walker seems to use the veil on different levels, both literally and figuratively. So we might see Alexis encountering actual physical barriers that represent the veil, maybe in dreams or visions.
Like in those fantasy stories where the hero has to pass through a magical gate to enter a new world or face some hidden truth. It's a physical way of showing that step into the unknown.
Yeah. And those times when Alexis literally runs into the veil could be really dramatic and visually amazing. But I think the real interesting stuff is how Mary Walker uses the metaphorical veils.
You mean those mental blocks and limiting beliefs that stop us from reaching our potential?
Exactly. Those inner veils are often way harder to deal with than any external barrier.
So maybe when Alexis doubts herself, or when she has to make a tough decision, that's her way of interacting with that metaphorical veil.
Could be. Like she's fighting those inner walls, looking for the strength to break through them.
And even though those struggles might feel personal, there's something we can all relate to. We've all been there, feeling stuck, limited, afraid to really go for it.
Totally. And Alexis's journey shows us we're not alone in those struggles. It shows us it's possible to face our fears, change those limiting beliefs, and finally get free of whatever's holding us back.
So Beyond the Veil is more than just a story about a special star child. It's a reflection of our own human journey of growing, changing, and finding ourselves.
It's a story that invites us to look inside, confront our shadows, embrace our light, and become who we're meant to be.
Wow, this has been a truly fascinating dive into the world of Beyond the Veil. It feels like we've only just begun to explore what it has to offer.
I agree. Mary Walker has created this amazing multi-layered story that's both exciting and thought-provoking. It's a story that will stay with you.
I can't wait to see what happens next in the series, how Alexis's journey continues. I have a feeling it's going to be quite a ride.
Me too. And for everyone listening, I encourage you to check out Beyond the Veil and start your own exploration. You might be surprised by what you find along the way.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep searching, keep questioning, and keep exploring the endless possibilities within you and the world around you.